Monday, April 28th, 2025. Um, and a couple interesting things happened this morning on The View. Um, they started out by talking about Deion Sanders' kid, who is a star quarterback that was expected to be picked early in the NFL draft and didn't get picked until I think the fifth round, which was surprising to a lot of people. And the excuse that was given was that he didn't interview well, even though he's this uh, star and well received athlete. I didn't realize that he was only had only been coached by his father, and that was part of a stipulation that his father was going to keep coaching him. And to me, that is a giant red flag. That's not you when you become part of a team, then you become part of the team, and you become part of the team's coaching process. So that's a little weird. Um, but I think Sonny was probably closer to the truth uh, of how things are sort of unfold in the NFL, and particularly with this guy. Um, and I read something briefly either yesterday or today that talked about it's not um, a racism in the sense that they didn't pick him because he's black, um, but because he's black and from a place of privilege. And it was an interesting sort of argument to say it's fine if you're the scrappy young guy who sort of comes from nowhere and is relishing the opportunity to sort of live this dream in the NFL, and you're like an underdog story. But the idea that a black man comes walking into the room um, and knows that he belongs in it, which is what Sonny was talking about, because now he's come from sort of a generation, right? He's now like generational talent and um, and and sort of place in society, right? Um, and that is scarier to people because it makes them feel good if they're given the leg up, but somebody who's black and already from an established family and background, uh, uh, and again generational wealth and talent, that's terrifying because that's they're being replaced kind of stuff. And again, I'm not saying this is a conscious thought process. It could very well be an unconscious bias. But that could also be true of people just saying that he's too arrogant. It could be just an unconscious bias because you want that kid to be young and hungry and thankful and humble, and a kid who's got um, confidence to him. You see it in the white kids all the time, but a black kid with that amount of confidence and that amount of sort of talent and pedigree behind them, it's a little bit new to people and it's a little scary. And I think Sonny's onto something, and I don't think you can just 100% label him nepo baby or 100% say he came off uh, uh, unfavorably in the interview process. Um, but it may be a little more nuanced than that. I think honestly, the my dad is going to be my coach is probably a bigger problem than anything because you're expected to participate in the team like the rest of the team. You don't I don't know how many people come with their own coaches. Is that uncommon? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but that one seemed weird. Um uh anyway, so that was an interesting topic that sort of went by um, quickly. And then they kind of fucked up the next hot topic because they were talking about JB Pritzker giving this talk in, I think it was New Hampshire. It was a very fiery speech and talking about how the Democrats need to step up. They need to be showing their resistance. They need to show the American people that they're fighting for them. That they are not going to let this administration get away with all of these unconstitutional actions and reducing our benefits and our rights and our privileges and our freedoms. And it was it's the kind of thing. It's like, yes, someone who actually cares about fighting for us, right? And I've been saying this for God knows how long. And they didn't show any of that speech, and they didn't really talk about that because then they showed a thing about from Mike Lawler, which was actually a really tame clip from that because it got really heated. They did yell at him, but these Republicans that are like, if you're just going to yell at me, we're not going to eat up all the time. Well, it's because you're just fucking lying. We live in a united country. No, we don't. And if you can't admit that we don't, get the fuck off the stage. Um, and then, Sarah, of course, has to be all Pollyanna. And it's like, I don't think we should just be obstructionists. We need to be working together. She's so annoying. Um, and the point is, no, you don't work together with fascists. That's the whole point. And then Amy Alyssa Farrah Fowler Griffin gets her opportunity yet again to tell Democrats what they need to do. And I'll tell you what, Pete Buttigieg is fantastic. I love him and put him on every fucking platform you can. He is masterful at breaking down arguments, making them palatable, relatable, understandable. But he's a policy wonk. Nobody's going to get excited about a policy wonk except other nerds like me. I think he's fucking fantastic, but he's not what we need. We need someone who is going to, and this is the thing that no, they're never talking about. Stupid fucking Sarah again says, we can talk about what did Trump win on? We know all that, but what did the Democrats even run on? I don't even know. Well, that's a lazy fucking answer and a sad excuse because it was in every fucking speech she was talking about fighting for lower income and middle class families and small businesses, right? She's talking about first time home buyers. She's talking about starting small businesses and small business credits and helping college students. Like she over and over and over again. Did she go far enough? No. Was she too polished and coached by consultants? Yes. And did they dim Tim Walz's light with coaches and consultants? Yes, they did. Tim Walz has it right. The way that he talks to people, and Pritzker's getting this. He's figured out that same sort of hook and formula. You talk to people the way that they can hear things in simple language. Pritzker's like, we get into this thing about how, people who are unhoused. That's great, but talk to people in a way that they understand how things work. Talk to people not just about things that matter to them, the kitchen table stuff, but show them how you're going to fight for them, that you've got the gumption and the nerve to actually stand up and change something. And I think if we took those big swings and talked about things like term limits and universal health care and taxing the rich, I think we would get there. Because it's not somebody said it's not that, maybe it was Anna, it's not getting the middle ground people and trying to convert Republicans. It's getting all those people who are not voting because they don't feel like anybody's fighting for them. They want things to change. They want things to get better. They want the things that we're all saying that we want: common sense gun control, better access to healthcare, better living wage, affordable housing, like all that stuff. But they don't feel like anybody's fighting for them. And then there's the whole fringe section of single issue voters that it's just you can't, you're not going to please them. Um, because there's so too much virtue signaling. And so we've got to get away from that and just actually talk to people about what we can do. And it isn't about, Sarah, oh, they didn't listen. It's not about not listening because, bitch, you're the one not listening. You just said you didn't know what the Democrats and what Kamala Harris was fighting for. That's not listening. She sat at your table and talked about it. Um, and the thing is, we have to get away from uh, over explaining. We can talk about this policy and we can talk about how we're going to pay for it and we're going to talk about how it's going to work and we're going to, but nobody gets excited about that. Nobody asks the Republicans how they're going to pay for shit. And that's the other thing is somebody that is going to fight back at the media and point out the hypocrisy. And I think Pritzker's doing it himself a really good service and should continue that. And I hope people start to follow his example. And I think he's taken a great page from Tim Walz. And somebody, I think it was Amy Lissa Fairleigh Griffin, said, that Josh Shapiro's, the governor of Pennsylvania, she called it an assassination attempt, which it really was. They tried to burn his fucking house down. And that barely even made the fucking news. Like, you'd think that that would be a bigger deal. But I guess when it's violence against a Democrat, it doesn't matter. I don't know. But he's right. And, Sarah can shrink back all she wants. But if you're not shouting from the rooftops, then you're letting all this shit happen. And that's how you're going to be remembered about this whole era, depending on how and if we get out of it. Um, anyway, ain't that a fine how do you do? Um, by the way, I did make it to across the Canadian border and back over the weekend, and it was terrifying, but uh, there's no incident. I did cover up with tape the Kamala Harris bumper sticker on the back of my car because I didn't think that anyone needed to see that at the border coming back into the States. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know how many different ways to say we need someone who'll fight for us, and we need to stop belly aching about um, people not listening. I think we're listening. I think um, I think they're listening. I just don't think they're actually showing us what they can do. And if they can't show us what they can do, then they shouldn't be running. And that's what I like about David Hogg. I actually contributed to whatever the hell that group is that he is running about. You know what? If you're not standing up um, for the American people and for your constituents um, in a way that is required at this moment, we're going to run someone against you. Um, Primary, these lame ass do nothing Democrats, and Pritzker said it, do nothing Democrats. We're tired of them. And this is the moment. This is the moment to capture on that anger and create momentum. But that is if we ever get to vote again.